This is part one of installing OpenSquiggly on Linode using the quick setup script. This video is for guidelines only, and please consult your network operations team for additional security advice. All right, I'm going to create the Linode. I'm logged into my Linode account. I'm going to create a Linode, which is a VM. Okay, that's what they call a VM. And I'm going to use Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. Pick the region I want it in. All right, and I'm just going to pick this this first one here, the dedicated 4 gigabyte. All right, and I'm going to give this a label, and I'm going to call this VM1. It does make me put in a root password, which I don't really love that idea. So I'm going to put that in. All right. So I don't really like that I have to put that root password in. I have to create a new one each time. But if you store that in a password vault or something like that, you can, manage that. But what I do really like is that you can pre-upload your SSH keys and then use that same SSH key when you create multiple VMs. And that's just a lot more convenient than in Azure, where it creates a VM for you every time. You have to download it and create an alias for it and all that. So I do kind of like that. All right, so I'm going to create the Linode. All right, and this is going to take just a minute or two to provision. All right, there we go. It's up and running. That just took a minute or so. Now what I want to do is add some storage. So I always recommend that you put your data on a separate volume from the operating system. That way you could, if you had to recreate your node or something, you could still get back to the volume that has your data on it. So we always recommend doing that. So I'm going to create a volume, and I'm just going to give the label called data, and let's say I want to make it 32 gig. So here, the bigger it is, the more you're going to pay. If you make it too small and you run out of disk space, then you'll have to reprovision it, which is a little bit of hassle. If you make it too big, then you're just overpaying. So you want to try to estimate, like how much data you think you're going to need, and we'll provide some additional guidance in our documentation about what size you'd be thinking about. For my purposes, I'm going to create a 32 gig disk. So that's going to be $3.20 a month under the standard pricing plan. All right. Now we don't need these configuration instructions because our setup script is going to handle all that for us. So we can just close that down. All right. And we see we've got this running. And so we've got the VM running, and we've got 32 gig of data attached to it. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. In the next video, we're going to jump over to the VM. Notice that we get a nice VM instruction here that Linode gives us, and we don't have to bother with SSH keys and everything because I already had that pre-created, pre-attached SSH key, so I don't need to download anything. Okay, we'll continue in the next video with the SSHing.